Alison Edgerton, Group Accountant for Children, Families and Education Finance.
So Kate Reynolds, Deputy Director, Education, Portsmouth City Council. Thank you.
Alison Critchley, Head of Sufficiency and Resources in Education.
Sarah Jetton, School Place Planning Officer.
Karen Curry, Head of Inclusion. Sarah Daly, Director of Children, Families and Education.
Good evening, Councillor Hannah Brentford, Drayton and Farnington, Opposition Spokesperson.
I'm going to present. So this item is about the proposed closure of the Inclusion Centre at St Edmunds Catholic School. What we are asking members to do is consider the responses to the pre-statutory consultation and authorise the Director of Children, Families and Education to go ahead to the statutory notice stage. So as set out in the report, we've been doing extensive consultation since the summer, talking to the school, talking to the parent of the one child who is currently on the roll of the Inclusion Centre, although it's important to say that that child actually doesn't use the Inclusion Centre, they are supported in the mainstream school, and also consulting with the National Deaf Children's Society and the RNIB as representatives of parents with visual and hearing impairments. I think it's important to say that overall there have been no objections raised. This is in some ways a good news story in that parents in Portsmouth are choosing for their children to be supported in mainstream provision with support from our vision and hearing impairment team rather than in specialist provision. And talking to the two representative bodies, they understood that this was the approach that was being taken in Portsmouth, very much supported by Portsmouth families who have not been choosing to send their children to inclusion centres. They've wanted their children to be in local mainstream schools. And therefore, on the basis of the consultation feedback received to date, we'd like to move to the statutory consultation phase, which involves publishing a notice and giving people a 4-week period to bring forward any objections, and then a paper would come back to this committee after Christmas for a final decision.
Hello. No, it's not really any question. I think there was something in the report about the unit not being used for some time. Do you know when it was last fully used, or has it just been empty for...
I don't know, but I'll find out and drop you a line to let you know.
Yeah, no, that's fine. And do you know what might be... it will be useful from now on? Is it quite a large space, or...?
It's not a particularly big space, so it's not the sort of space that could be repurposed for an alternative type of inclusion centre, because actually in practice, the children that have been using it, it's been the sort of base where they've perhaps checked in with their tutor in the morning and then been out and about in the school. So it's not a big space that gives us an opportunity to do something else with.
Okay, fantastic. No other questions from me, Nick.
Yeah. Is that better? Okay. Are there any more questions? No. In that case, yes, I'm happy to go along with the officer's recommendation. I've got to read this out word for word, haven't I? Consider the response from the pre-statutory consultation on the proposal to close the Inclusion Centre at St Edmunds Catholic School. Authorises the Director of Children, Families and Education to proceed with the publication and representation stage of the statutory proposal to close the Inclusion Centre at St Edmunds Catholic School. Right, now we're on to item 4. So I believe, is that Alison? Is that your one?
It is, yes. So this report is giving an update with regards to the forecast outturn position for the dedicated schools grant as at the end of June, which is the first quarter. The original budget planned to use 4.2 million of the dedicated school grant reserves to support the 25-26 budgets, and the June forecasts are currently showing there will be a further call on the reserves of £0.5 million. The reasons for the variations are detailed in the report, and I'm happy to take any questions on those. The report also details the revisions to the budget after June, which are due to notifications from the Department of Education regarding the dedicated schools grant funding received by Portsmouth City Council, and also the internal revisions on the budgets as a result of the activity and decisions taken so far this year. Section 8 sets out all the proposed budget revisions which are included in the Appendix 1, and I'm happy to take any questions on either sections.
Are there any questions?
Sorry, I was just looking at the overspend and just the breakdown. Is there any particular, I literally can't see, so I've only got it on my phone, I didn't bring a paper, where it's been specifically used, the overspend?
So the main reasons for the overspends are in relation to pupils with special educational needs and disabilities, and we've found over the course of recent years, obviously those numbers are increasing, but also the level of need is increasing, and at the moment those needs aren't matching the funding that we're getting as an authority through the special educational needs, high needs block of the dedicated schools grant.
And so how would that leave us next year when you do like the next, I know it's hard to predict, isn't it, because you don't know what funding you'll receive? Or...
We are still waiting to receive any notification of next year's funding from the Department for Education. Normally we'd receive an indicative budget in June/July every year, but for the last 2 years we haven't received anything until very late. At the moment, as an authority, we are kind of proceeding. There'll be no change to the funding, and we're working with the education team to look at a high needs management plan, which we'll be sharing with Schools Forum members in the near future.
That puts you in a really difficult position though, doesn't it?
It does put us in a...
You know, we're 3 months on from sort of June, July, so it does put you in a really difficult position. I'm guessing it's only going to potentially increase year on year. You can't see it going to plateau the other way, is it? So
Not yet, no.
that is the difficulty. Okay, thank you.
Is there any more questions? Do I have to read out all of that? Oh, all of that. Right. Here we go. I note the forecast of the year-end budget overspend position for the dedicated schools grants at 30th of June 2025, together with the associated explanations contained within this report. I note that in accordance with responsible financial management, migrations plans will be considered over the Q2 period to alleviate the forecast in-year overspend. I approve the revisions to the 2025-26 budget as set out in Appendix 1 and Section 8, and approve the new funding arrangements for the Early Years Special Educational Needs Inclusion Fund, SEND-IF, emerging the proposal hourly rate of £11.50 for the SEND-IF Plus complex needs, and the proposed Early Years Inclusion Centre hourly rate of £19 as set out in Section 9. Wonderful. Right, so thank you to everybody for their time this evening in coming along, and we'll see you next time.